Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up Missoula. I'm your host, Scott Ramp, here to usher you in. It is the first Friday in December. I have your art guide, all the things that are happening downtown this weekend. There's so much going on. We have the lighting of the Christmas tree. We have a holiday at Higgins. We've got Santa visiting the library, MCT, and all over the place pretty much this whole weekend long. It's a great way to kick off the holiday season. And while we kick it off the holiday season here, there is a group of people here in the city of Missoula who are technically going to be kicked out of city parks and public spaces like that, as the city rectified and updated the ordinance to reflect the growing demand and pressure from the public to ban homeless people from overnight camping inside of parks. So before we get started, a little bit of background as I kick things off. There are going to be 2 city council meetings left in this year. I just finished watching this week's meetings, highlighting many things from open space bond money being spent on various sites across Montana to easements and investing in parks while working with Missoula Redevelopment Agency to purchase land behind Bob Ward's and Sons. Missoula will end the year with quite a haul of land, including a major donation of $5 million to the Missoula Housing Impact Fund that will be stewarded through the nonprofit NeighborWorks, connecting public-private interests through the Missoula Economic Partnership, looking to end in 2024 with $10 million raised, with already 1.5, with already $8.5 million thus far through donations from First Interstate Bank Match, with the emphasis on affordable housing solutions like the Rivara project, which also aims to sell homes on a land owned by the city and at least to own, in my understanding of these plans. So you kind of get all caught up with some of the stuff that we're getting out of, and now we're going to jump right into this nearly 6-hour meeting of a lot of back and forth, trying to talk about some of the amendments that Daniel Carlino put up there, so to prevent any kind of fining, just endless fining of homeless folks. So we're going to jump right into this, and Amber Sherrill, City Council, comments on these proposals to kick us off.
I have heard from many of my constituents since the original ordinance went into effect, asking for some of the changes that we're proposing tonight. I've also had, probably in the hundreds now, voicemails and countless emails on the topic. So I know why everyone is here tonight, and I appreciate your engagement. I believe my job is to represent all of my constituents. My job is also to understand that when something isn't working and needs to be changed, that we do that. Sometimes legislation doesn't work because what's happening on the ground has changed, regional politics have changed, funding sources have changed, too many concessions were made when we crafted it, and sometimes just the plan simply is not working the way that we had hoped.
All right. And so that is the many things you're going to be hearing during City Council from the council members. One of the most honest reactions behind the change in policy is the overall lack of resources that essentially were funded through the pandemic, with the Johnson Street Shelter going into their second of their 3 years before total closure of the site as they move to redevelop the area. Missoula has also used many of the ARPA dollars to support services for homeless individuals, but much like MCPS school system, many budget restraints have resulted in many of programs being cut, but the city is crushing the fall, or cushioning the fall by essentially restricting homeless people's movements overall. So Mike Nugent, City Council, in the past have claimed this is a national systemic issue, and Missoula has many serious, just not enough services in place. So this is Mike Nugent.
The reality is also that as we've been asking questions and learning a lot about this in the last 3 or 4 months, and whether it makes us uncomfortable or not, we have to acknowledge that there is a significant portion of our unhoused population that is coming to Missoula from other places to use some of our services. And I think that says a lot, one, about the community of Missoula as it relates to a lot of Western Montana and the region, that we are a compassionate community, and we are a community that does want to help our neighbors. But I also think we need to be careful of putting too much of a burden on Missoulians to solve a problem that goes far beyond the city limits of Missoula.
Yep, so part of that is just essentially Missoula's kind of been the go-to place for a lot of people in the state of Montana and surrounding areas as a kind of a main stop hub for homelessness. Many other communities still have their shelters, do their own system. Missoula definitely stepped up a little bit more in that robust system that we've established, but unfortunately a lot of that robust establishment doesn't have that funding to keep that going, and that's basically what the city's been doing. And that's why we had the last couple rounds of emergency levies for the city to leverage some tax money to be able to put money into these programs to continue them rather than outright stop them, which they could have easily done. But as you heard, the excuses, we hear from Daniel Carlino, who has put up many proposals during this particular meeting. And then here is Daniel Carlino speaking on this matter. And so far, if you should already know that essentially they passed this park ban ordinance on top of everything, but these are just some of the things that kind of need to be said just from the perspective of the people, city council, and beyond. So here's Daniel Carlino talking a little bit about this.
And I think people should have a warning before we take all of their belongings or give them misdemeanor charges or tow their vehicles. I think it's fair to have a written warning so we all have proof and documentation of this before proceeding with further punitive measures.
Yep, and so part of this is just to make sure that there's at least more of a warning rather than just printing out fine tickets for the folks as well. And if we get into it, we also have the, he does not want to have the city criminalize the homeless, and despite that, he came up with about 9 amendments to reflect that very nature, from authority to enforce, as long as there's no option for an individual to access adequate indoor shelter for sleeping. Citations for violation of this chapter may not be used and enforced. Another one is, as long as there's no option for an individual to access adequate indoor shelter for sleeping, abatement shall not be enforced. In the event of a vehicle, camp, structure belonging to an unsheltered individual is towed or impounded, the city, no fees will be associated with towing or impounding. The city shall offer deferred prosecution agreements for the municipal court shall impose a deferred imposition of judgment to an individual for their citation issued to enforce the terms of this chapter, among others which aim to restrain strategies to bring services to the individuals. Ryan Sedesbury, city attorney, talks legal consequences for violating the ban in the courtroom, and this is what he had to say about that.
The code enforcement officer or the police officer would show up, make their case as to why they believe that there was a violation of the ordinance, and give their testimonies to the facts. Then the defendant would have the opportunity to call witnesses to say why they didn't believe that there was a violation. And it would be a relatively straightforward and quick affair. The judge would rule on it and make a decision from the bench. What we found is that's maybe not the case. While there may not be the opportunity for cross claims and impleader of other parties, that there still is a possibility in a municipal infraction proceeding to have it operate similar to civil litigation, which is just a resource-intensive proceeding that is not well suited to something that we had anticipated would be a sort of streamlined and efficient affair for all parties. So even with the ruling from Friday, it's still our opinion that the municipal infraction for these cases, which may come up with relative frequency, it's sort of inappropriate.
Okay. Much like getting a speeding ticket, this is going to continue moving forward on this one. Sorry about all the legal jargon, but it seems to follow the speeding ticket framework in this matter. But as the meeting went on and the amendments argued over, many of the amendments were cut and essentially leaving the park ban intact. Public comment, so this is where we get to more of the meat and potatoes of the meeting with Pam Small, resident, gave comment about this as well. And to be clear about, there's a lot of public comment, but I pick and choose the ones, and so there's more of a robust, because this was essentially the 6-hour meeting in which there was a lot of discussion back and forth. But there was definitely a lot more people and citizens of Missoula who were for the park ban, more so this time around than there have been in the last months leading to this point. So here is Pam.
Earlier, one of you guys, it could have been you, that if something doesn't work, get rid of it. I think a lot is spent on this and it's not working, and I think you need to get rid of it. I'm not heartless to the homeless, because I don't know if you guys have actually gone and talked to the people on the street like I have, but I've been doing it for years. My husband's from 4 generations in Missoula. I'm from 4. We're raising, 5th generation children and business owners here. I asked them, I say, why are you on the street? And I said, why don't you go to the resources that we do have here in town? I said, we have the Poverello, whatever, and they are too scared to go there. So I think for starters, you need to work with the resources you already have there in place, make the Poverello a safer spot for people to go to. They are avoiding it, that's why it's not full, you've got tons of beds. The Meadowlark sounds like it has a waiting list, so it's probably doing a better job being safer for the families there.
All right. And so she went on to speak more about some of the things. Many homeless folks have spoken against the Poverello Center for one reason or another, and in the past, this was a dry shelter meant to keep a schedule and deny entry for those who do not follow the rules, while Johnson Street Shelter has been considered the low barrier shelter. Matt Sullivan, Ward 3 and 4, spoke about the camping. This is what he had to say.
I personally have become even more saddened at the direction of our city's leadership tonight. Sitting in this meeting and listening to its leaders make amendments which include planning to develop designated camping, which I'm sure will not be located in the Rattlesnake, allowing private property owners to host campers, having work groups that don't include residents represented here, reducing the responsibility of offenders, and encouraging even more camping in vehicles. This destructive empathy will be what most of your political legacies mean for Missoula. Solutions to homelessness are a real challenge to local governments, and we all have empathy for those living in the streets. However, allowing urban camping in our parks and community spaces is the city practicing destructive empathy on our overall community.
All right. See, this is one of those things that is kind of interesting to just kind of see the evolution of some of the public comments coming forward on this. He referred to Portland and Seattle as a source of how larger cities have dealt with homelessness in the past. He mentioned Proposition 312, which was referred to an Arizona law that had the government give financial assistance for damage to private property owners because of homelessness and vandalization. I don't know say vandalization, it's not a real word, but as we got a lot of folks in favor of the ban, we also had more focus on finding solutions over removing people from public spaces. Clayton Shea, I have two quotes from him. He spoke for himself and others like him in this quote right here.
Wordless, I suppose, as I'm not allowed to really stay in any city property these days. I'd like to start with the same comment that I came here to deaf ears with the last time I was here, that day and so many days since, the Johnson Street Shelter has been full by 1:30 p.m., 3 p.m. We keep saying we have an open shelter for people to come to that you can check in any time of night. I know someone whose argument started with the staff last night just for asking for a sheet too late at night because he had checked in late. It's not what you say it is. It's a lie. There aren't beds there every night. And the people who stand here saying it, pretending like they know or they've stayed there or they've experienced it, is an insult to the community.
All right. And so that was Clayton Shea, a homeless individual here in Missoula. He's spoken many times over the last year, and it has been part of the homeless task force, only to be undermined for the bottom line of the house community. They are the ones that pay taxes, and it's easy to disregard the unseen. Clayton also spoke about life inside the Johnson shelter from his point of view.
We just start outing people into a place where there is no place for them to go, no parks to be in, and then the first $50 they have when you find them, you want to take when the cheapest hotel in town is $50. I guarantee when it comes to being run out of a campsite, I'm going to use my $50 for a hotel. I wouldn't be turning it around to give it to the municipality when there's nowhere to stay. And when it comes to our EMS calls and the money we're going to spend, how much is that going to fluctuate over the next couple months while people stand in the cold from 5 to 8, or the freezing rain, or the 2 feet of snow, waiting to set up a tent that they no longer have a space to set up? You make it worse with every turn.
There you go. And so there's just a reflection of a lot of people who are dealing with this. You know, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. And the city has basically been put against the wall in terms of how to kind of solve this issue. And frankly, one of the things that harkens back is the Occupy Wall Street movement, in which there were a lot of encampments that built around the Missoula County Courthouse. From there, I think I'm not really, and the thing is that we used to actually have fines, and the reason why we stopped doing fines is because of all the extra work that people would have to do to not get those fines paid. And what I mean by that is that most of the people, like you were saying, is that they're not going to outright pay these fines. They're just going to go further into debt, not even going to worry about it. But then when they get to a certain point, maybe they're getting closer to getting out of their own situation of homelessness, then they get hit with these fines and perhaps potentially even jail time because of the old vestige of failure to appear in court, which seems to be a big thing for a lot of those things. So Sue Silverberg, she's a mental health counselor. She talks about some of the actions that the city council has been doing on this is going to have some wide-ranging effects to the mental health of homeless individuals.
In city parks, we were going to come up with a place where people could camp and where people would have services. And I believe that that is hugely important. Even if we have shelter spaces, there will always be a certain number of people who are not going to fit into shelters, who are not going to be successful at housing. There are people with psychotic disorders who do not feel safe around other people. They're trying to protect other people, and they're trying to protect themselves by camping outside away from people. There are veterans who have worked hard for our country, who have post-traumatic stress disorder, who are terrified, and they just want to be left alone, and they want to camp outside. And I believe they should be able to.
All right. And so that was from that perspective. And as we go in further into the meeting, we also have another quote from Nicole, who considers herself a former homeless person and addict, spoke about her use of Missoula services in the past.
I was told by programs in this city when I was homeless that I either had to quit my job or get pregnant in order to get help, which would put me in a worse position. I wasn't going to do that. I made a choice. Everybody has choices in their life. They have a choice to get clean. They have a choice to get mental health help. They have a choice. I made the choice not to get pregnant, not to quit my job and work my butt off to do better in my life, okay? Now I'm a business owner in Ward 2. Now I'm dealing with the homeless parked in a camper in front of my business, filling up my garbage can with their debris that I pay for, that I work hard to pay for. I've had to step over human feces because they couldn't be bothered to go to a restroom. I've had people steal from my business because why not? They don't get consequences. And I'm over it. Everybody has choices in their life, whether it's to get the mental health help that they need and to stick through it and do the hard work. I did. I was told at age 11 I'd never, ever be able to hold a job, have a family, or have a productive life because I was born an addict. I had a choice. And that's what we're not dealing with. People being held accountable for their personal choices.
All right. And so, yeah, much like many people who have worked hard, and those who are also struggling here in the city of Missoula, who are basically living paycheck to paycheck, working more than one job just so they can pay their $1,200 a month rent in the city of Missoula, compared to pre-pandemic era, which was a little bit easier to get out of homelessness comparatively, without working too much with a lot of those programs in place, which, like you heard from her, many of those programs require you to have a certain threshold of income, not to mention what other need is going on there like that. Lynetta Lagency, former homeless person and disabled folk, also spoke on this and just is kind of just outraged about how the city has just been approached this about like just teetering around some of the issues and just kind of trying to figure out what they actually wanted to do and portray.
You need to protect the homeless. Give them somewhere to go. If you don't want them in the parks, you don't want them on the trails, give them somewhere to go. There is nowhere for them to go. Nowhere. The shelters where they feel unsafe, where their dogs go to the dog pound because the staff wants to send them there. How are they going to want to return? If I was to lose my house right now, I would never go back to a shelter. I, myself, have stayed out camping alone because of this reason. You're not protecting the main community, the unhoused. Yes, great. You guys all have housing then. You want to do this and you want to do that. What about the homeless? Give them somewhere to go.
And that was the prevailing issue with homeless people pleading with the city to ask them, it's like, hey, you keep on telling us where we can't go. You point us in one direction, you move us from another direction. It is just completely just a mess at that point. And this goes into just not helping in the long run of things. And Daniel Carlino spoke against this ban and some of the bigger issues that the city of Missoula is ignoring.
Criminalizing homelessness just makes things way worse, and you can't use the criminal legal system to get people into housing. It's really obvious, and with our limited resources, I think we should try and put more of it towards real solutions and not waste so much money making people's lives incredibly hard who are already struggling so much in our community. So yeah, it's just really sad to see that you all are taking this route and have decided to do this. But misdemeanor criminal charges is criminalizing homelessness, and I ask that you don't do that, and ask that you don't take people's vehicles and tow them, and that we change this ordinance.
And that was the last plea of Daniel Carlino before essentially the meeting. Printing tickets for the homeless was a thing in the past. As we got into the late 2000s and during the last decade, if not less, homelessness wasn't treated the way the city is treating it now. Heck, even the city didn't have a warming shelter for many years until the 2018 kind of year, where probably the city of Missoula and beyond were trying the hardest, their best to work with what they got to help the homeless. Then we got that extra cash through the ARPA and the CARES Act, which really kind of put things further down. Not to mention the people who were already struggling with housing while they're in housing, got out of housing. I mean, heck, we have a whole new population of car livers. I don't know why I said it like that. That sounds derogative. But regardless of that, there's a whole new group of people who are living out of their cars now. And maybe they're supplementing some income with some DoorDash here and there. It's a ridiculous thing. Sometimes you just don't know because, it's just one of those things that there's people who are working and they are homeless, and they're still waiting a lot of these services. And in the case of a lot of these services, if you make too much money, you can't utilize those services. And if you make too less amount of money, you can't really get out of those to make room for the next person who needs those services in place. So the ordinance update passed with many of the amendments by Daniel Carlino failing to make any ground on financial punishment for people going from place to place only to be shooed away. Homelessness has been a low-hanging fruit, and since the Supreme Court ruling in June 28th, many cities in America have made these sweeping changes to essentially remove the problem over solving it. So as we move on to our next meeting, I'm going to start off with a little bit of more good news, as the city is getting a donation of more than 16 acres off of West End Farms. This is part of a major development happening near George Elmer, Helga Elementary area, off of Lynn Lane. David Selvage, Associate Director of Parks Services and Systems, talks about the purpose and a little bit more information about this.
A follow-up commitment made in the development agreement that was approved earlier this year. This particular parcel is intended to be put to agricultural use. I will flip up the park master plan here in a moment. This will combine with already 10.58 acres of committed parkland through the development subdivision plat for a much needed and desirable community park with agricultural uses.
All right, and so many of these areas used to be former farm and ag land, and many of these sites have been sold. The entire neighborhood has had input into this part, and according to Parks and Rec, the Mullen area is underparked, not like lack of parks and recreation sites, lack of green space for recreation. So Donna Glockler, Director of Parks and Recreation, talks some more about the development on this.
This is approximately the size of McCormick Park. And so it is a huge game changer for this neighborhood. It doesn't answer all of our park needs, but I had, when this fell into our laps, I couldn't believe how fortunate we are as a community to have developers like this in our community who care so much and so deeply about our community, to recognize the need and to try and meet that need.
And as you can see here, this is essentially the park, future neighborhood, Helge Elementary, and if you go about another block or so to the right, that is essentially where Flynn Lane is, which was the connectivity between Mullen Road and Broadway to the airport. And for the most part, they're trying to curb a lot of that traffic to Mary Jane Boulevard, which was part of their brand new neighborhood, which crosses and also connects England Boulevard through Flynn Lane. So, I mean, if you're familiar with the area, it's essentially another further out there, just a little bit past the new Walmart. Cormac Park is roughly 29 acres and serves the community near Clark Fork River and holds Currents Aquatic Center. They want to have sports fields maintained throughout the recreation seasons, and Donna Gockler talks about maintenance, which tends to be an ongoing cost of parks. Even after they build the parks, they still need to pay for everything else around that. So here is Donna explaining some of the funding mechanisms put in place.
Smaller size, but multi-bedroom homes in this neighborhood that is really priced for workforce attainability, which I think is fantastic. So the eastern portion of it will be in a phased development, so we get some open play space, some pathways, and some play features. And then the western half will be a relatively low cost, and that's where we're looking for a partnership. We're hoping to realize at some point in our future something along the nature of an educational or a UPIC. You participate in some way in the agricultural community along with markets. And so from a cost perspective, there will be a typical neighborhood or per acre cost to maintain once it's built. One of the things we try to do at the Parks Department is develop parks in neighborhoods as the housing is developing and filling in, so that those residents become taxpayers contributing to the overall resource.
All right, so essentially the future taxpayers are going to be fronting the bulk of the bill. We look into the map and we see various entities from playfield bounds that overlook the field with components in place for various services as Parks and Rec look for private partners to help contribute. Overall, the future taxpayers of the site will contribute roughly $5,000 per acre. It is pretty rare for townships to have the ability to create something that people can enter rather than appearing later with bonds and efforts to make these parks, like Fort Missoula Regional Park, which from what I heard took 20 years leading up to the 2014 bond, which was $42 million to develop Fort Missoula Regional Park in that area, and then the additional $4 million that went to updating the playgrounds of the many various parks throughout the city of Missoula. So interesting fact on that one. As we move on, we're going to talk about some land use and planning. They are speaking about the future master plan for the city growth as we look to projections for 2045. This is essentially an update from the last one, which was the projection for 2035, but they've done many studies up until this point, and they've determined that the city of Missoula is going to grow exponentially in the next 20 years, and so they're trying to determine how many more houses they want to build and how many things they want to do. So here's Mayor Andrea Davis giving intro into this, into the committee meeting land use and planning.
I think the community and the staff have done an incredible job of getting us to this point in a relatively lengthy planning process, a planning process that took extra time for additional community engagement that really proved itself out in so many ways, because we had folks participate as part of this land use plan that don't generally participate in this kind of work. And that's something over time that we've recognized, not only as a city, but municipalities and other governments have recognized that there are a lot of people that are often affected by our decisions that are not part of those decisions. And so the more that we can bring people to the table, we can come up with a more holistic plan.
Yep, the main point is that, the city of Missoula over the years, the first growth policy was implemented in 2018. A lot of things have changed in a post-pandemic world. A lot of people wanted to move to the city of Missoula. We're going through a major boom, not to mention, they had the Yellowstone show, a bunch of new tax incentives, not to mention tourism was booming like crazy in that I would say probably 2022, 2023 era, and it's only going to get more and more so as we move into the future, which is why they're trying to reaccommodate and re-update this information on this matter. So without too much word salad, agriculture land is something many people on the planning board and the community agree to keep a chunk of, and using the open space bond money and land easements to allow for areas to stay while developing their inward deal, their growth inward policy. Benjamin Brewer, community planning, gives a presentation about some of the things that they want to see in the next 20 years.
This resolution also indicates carrying forward some select sub-area plans and sunsetting other outdated neighborhood plans. This updated policy document directs the city's future growth by addressing the current community vision, needs, and development challenges. Built with consistent input from the community, the plan outlines a clear, actionable vision to support sustainable, equitable growth and public well-being.
I know this sounds not that interesting, but this is an important feature in the future planning of the city of Missoula. But mind you, this isn't something that is going to essentially deny your input on this moving forward. This was before the pandemic, like I said before. You know, it's very dry information stuff overall, but the important for those plans that include the rezoning of Northside Scott Street neighborhoods, which are in a developmental boom with the Villaggio complete and the Rivar project on the horizon. And then let's just skip ahead. We're gonna throw it over to Mattson Mathias. Long-range planning team talks about their future goals on this site.
This addresses Missoula's specific challenges and opportunities, including infrastructure demands, diverse housing needs, and projected growth. This slide highlights the housing needs analysis required by the Planning Act. The projections show that Missoula will need to build between 19,000 and 23,750 homes by 2045, plus addressing a current deficit of 2,700 to 3,700 homes. So in total, we're looking at a need for about 27,500 new housing units by 2045.
And if you actually look at the number existing capacity, it says 42,000 existing capacity. Projected needed is 27,000. So that's more than half of the estimated capacity that we're going to have to add to the overall housing demand to keep up with pace with everything. And for those of you who don't already know, the county is trying to create 1,000 new homes a year, while the number reaching 50,000 new dwelling units within the next 20 years is the main focus. NBC Montana reported that based on the trends of growth, around 37,000 more people by the year 2045. So Madison talks about the details of housing types and other things that are part of this growth policy with different divisions, how it blends into other neighborhoods, and just how to get a more robust system.
Missoula's neighborhoods offer a range of residential intensities from compact urban areas to quieter rural neighborhoods. Compact urban neighborhoods feature diverse housing options, walkable streets, and robust transit, while medium intensity areas balance housing variety with more space and car access, often along transit corridors. Outlying and rural neighborhoods offer lower density housing, relying more on cars, but providing options for biking and walking, ensuring that all lifestyles are supported throughout the city.
And if you want to see a good example of some of these developments and the true kind of our Missoula growth policy kind of look, you look up Mary Jane Boulevard, which is essentially the new Mullen neighborhood that they're building, you know, part of England Boulevard, which has a lot of those houses on lots. Then you have more transitional housing, which is more, you know, townhouse, connected townhouses, you know, multi-story complexes as it gets more into larger apartment complexes off the road, off the area as well. And so there's definitely a lot moving forward on this. And this is, you know, Midtown is also a prime example of major growth moving forward in Missoula as they create and implement their master plan. While Midtown has some limitations with already existing sites, Ward 2 has proven to be a great source for many of these policies to be implemented to add mixed use and opportunity to expand urban corridor, expand these robust transit systems, which is on track to grow even further. And overall, this presentation is something worth checking out if you are interested in how Missoula will look in the next 20 years. And with that, I'll end my city council report and we'll transition over to some new movies that are coming up this weekend. I would show you a clip, but I'm actually going to jump right into my pre-critic, where I prejudge a movie based on absolutely nothing but my biases of movies in general. So we're going to kick things off with some Thanksgiving stuffing leftovers with Moana 2. So Moana 2, welcome to the world of Polynesian Disney history as they venture into the far reaches of ocean and discover why other people are both great and not so great. The original was kind of an island's journey to save the island, and now they're bored with their quiet life, and the ocean is a lot safer than the first movie, and so they want to go out into the world to see, essentially poke the bear of colonialism disguised as an outside force that may threaten the peace of Moana's island. So she also got like a little sister or daughter or something, I don't know, which is promptly leaves to go on this journey because she did it the first time and has to do it again for family. All right, then we got Y2K. I believe I already talked about this a long time ago, but it seems like one of those movies that was in the film festival circuit and then came back again to mainstream release this weekend. So Y2K, why not? Something that came out and the fear of the 90s kids had to deal with the media creating a sense of uncertainty. Sound familiar? Enjoy the first of many world-ending events taking literally in this movie about a bunch of young teens trying to survive one of many possible Y2K theories. This should have come out in '99, but watch as a bunch of old, colorful toy cars were formed into bipedal bodies to take over the world that lost all access with the internet in a time most people didn't really know what the internet was. Most people just assumed it was a series of tubes, and the people who were worried about Y2K would just kind of be like, I just don't know how to deal with the transition of 99 to 00. And then the media just kind of ran with it. It was like, who ruined the system that we just built? Anyways, moving on. The Return. Remember the whole Homer's Odyssey that you had to read in middle school and elementary school? Well, enjoy basically the last vestige of his journey as he returns to his island to reunite with his family after 20 years, 10 years at war, about 10 years just kind of screwing around, hanging with the Cyclopses, going into an island where his people turn into pigs and animals or whatever, and then basically go to Olympic. It gets really kind of boring and tiring after the whole, he loses most of his crew, the Sirens, the Cyclops, all the fun stuff, and then towards the end it's like, how do you want to end it? How about you just he comes back to the island and he finds out a lot of these guys are trying to marry his wife, and then he kills all the guys and gets back together with his wife who's been waiting for him for 20 years. Now that's loyalty. All right, so those are the movies that are coming out this weekend. There's a new dub and stuff from a 1959 foreign Christmas movie, A Christmas Visit, which I redubbed for your pleasure. So here is that, and when I come back, we're going to talk about some First Friday stuff happening today, because it is First Friday of the month. There's a lot of art, and I have your art guide for you guys.
La la la, la la Christmas, la la me. I want presents, Christmas presents, Christmas presents. All right, everything's perfect, everything's great. Oh, look at all those ornaments on my tree. Ooh, man, I can't wait to go into tower work when I get older. Oh, I wonder what Santa's gonna get me for Christmas. But what if he doesn't get anything for me for Christmas? I don't think I've been that good of a boy for Christmas. Whoa! I thought I heard something. What's going on out here? Huh? Wait! Taxi! Hey, I'm walking here. Oh, you darn kids, get out of here. You want a ride or something? Oh, you got a Christmas tree. I'm gonna have to charge you double for that. You know that, right? I know. Follow that Santa Claus, please.
Oh, Santa's not real. Oh, yes, sure. I'll follow Santa. Where's he going now?
Well, if you look up in the sky, you can see him flying all over the place. I don't know where he's gonna stop.
Oh, look, it's Santa Claus. Oh, that's crazy. How did you know about Santa Claus? Ho, private jets. Go faster.
Get back here, Santa Claus. Santa, look at me. The fat man has landed. The fat man has landed. Yay!
Why are you calling me fat for a reason? I'm not that fat. I'm just bulked up for the wintertime. Kind of like you little chubster.
Do you think one day I can go on adventures like you?
Is that what you want for Christmas? Because you better be careful what you wish for, young man, because you might regret it. I don't have much time. As you can see here on my time watch, I'm trying to sync it up with your time zone, and it doesn't seem to be lining up quite right. So, you know what? Let's throw caution to the wind. How would you like to go on a Christmas adventure?
You have about 6-7 minutes total, but it'll be totally worth it. Come on, get on my plane.
I gotta go on an adventure with Santa.
Well, not quite, young man, but be sure to hold on, because this magical plane has no seatbelt, so good luck on your adventure.
Well, I'm all for throwing caution to the wind, but are you sure about this? Okay, is that like Christmas magic? Is it gonna make it fly and all that kind of stuff?
You sure have a lot of questions. Good luck.
Santa, how do you control this? Is it like Christmas magic or whatever?
Oh, my dear friend Kelly, how is the children? If I don't get robbed again, they get a Christmas.
Oh, wow, look, it's the moon. Oh, it's the moon. God, I gotta get away. Oh, how do I get down from here?
All right, welcome back. Let's talk about some art stuff happening in the downtown Missoula area. It is First Friday, and from 5 to 8 p.m. every first Friday of the month, the City of Missoula is opening up their galleries, holding some events, having some wine and hors d'oeuvres all over the place in the downtown area. Excuse me. Kicking things off is the Clay Studio of Missoula is doing a holiday sale and exhibit featuring the works of Missoula residents, members, and students. The December sale is a place to take care of your holiday shopping, whether you are looking for a new mug for your morning coffee, a vase for a bouquet of flowers, fun earrings, or sculptures to decorate your home. The Clay Studio will be offering a variety of exceptional ceramic art. The array of works available during this special exhibition provides the opportunity to find unique gift for those art lovers in your holiday gift list, including yourself. The sale will run until December 21st with a celebratory First Friday tonight from 5 to 8 p.m. They have extended hours from 12 to 5, and they're roughly open Monday through Friday, 12 to 5, and Saturdays, 12 to 3. And then as we move on, we're going over to the Montana Natural History Center Holiday Bazaar. They are hosting this festive event, brings together the best of holiday spirit, local artistry, support of nature education, delicious food and beverages, and the joys of giving back to our community. There you will find unique gifts crafted by local artists, from beautiful prints and photography to gorgeous glasswork and ceramics. There's something for everyone at your list. By shopping there, you'll be able to do your one-of-a-kind gifts for the holiday season. Most of these sound essentially like ads, but most of these organizations are nonprofits, and they're looking to support their institutions and give free education to children. Missoula Art Museum also hosts their own First Friday at the MAM. This is B.T. Livermore, Mary Ann Bongiorni, Jane Ash Poitras, and Jonathan Marquise. Livermore, the weight of it all, explores self-discovery through the coming out as asexual and agender, while Bongiorni's Head to Heart reflects the intersection of academia and ranching life. Poitras, keeping the circle strong, presents powerful mixed media work with indigenous identity, and Marquise, Something to Hold, showcases a stunning visual record of Montana's glacier, highlighting the urgency of preserving those landscapes. Then we got the Artist Shop, which is just off of Ronan Street, the Renaissance of Nature by Susan Hedstrand, etching, watercolor, and pastels. So much of nature resonates in our lives. The beauty of nature world resonates within and inspires her art with the harmony of shapes, lines, and colors, and this will run until January 31st. Then we got the pop-up gallery at the Wren Hotel. This is Heather Harp. They're going to be joining us the evening at the Missoula Pop-Up Gallery, featuring the dynamic multidisciplinarian Heather Harp's creations include bold hand-sewn felt wall hangings, atmospheric watercolor paintings, and thoughtful designs that celebrate the beauty of color and form. Their work is influenced by the background of fine arts, her entrepreneurial spirit, and her love of craft and design. She draws inspiration from iconic figures like Alexander Calder, Philip Glass, blending both visual elements with musical compositions that invoke emotion and resilience. And then as we go further down, right next door, we have the Confluence Center. Actually, this is not next door. This is about a block away across from the Main Street parking garage, the Confluence Center. Western Montana is home for nonprofit events. So that if you're a nonprofit, you can actually host events there for free. They're packing the house with Solstice with their winter exhibit, featuring 60 local artists and regional artists. Just in time for the holidays, Solstice will feature a wide range of artistic styles and mediums and many smaller, affordable works, perfect for gift giving. Also on display is the Art and Activism in the Bitterroot Room. This display is a special exhibit by students at the Davidson Honor Students College where students channeled their energies. This exhibit is the culmination of a course offered this fall at the Davidson Honors College Art and Activism. This is Professor Amy Ragsdale. Half of the students' final projects are being shown here at the Confluence Center and half at the Zootown Arts Community Center, so check it out. Finally, we got Sinful Studios is featuring Chenoa Reed. Join us first Friday for the celebration of art, storytelling, and creativity featuring the works of local artists and storytelling. Chenoa, born and raised in the breathtaking landscapes of Missoula, Montana, Chenoa has channeled her passion for the natural world and her artistic vision into a multifaceted career that combines traditional and digital art forms. They have a Bachelor of Fine Arts at the University of Montana, specialized in printmaking with minors in art history and wildlife biology. Her love for storytelling has inspired her to explore artistic narrative expressions through creative projects, from designing captivating thumbnails to illustrating dynamic characters. Chenoa's work reflects her dedication to both visual and narrative arts. So this can be featured at the Sinful Studios. And yep, those are pretty much your highlights for your art guide as we jump into more of your robust events that are happening in the city of Missoula with the lighting of the downtown Christmas tree, which is happening at 6 p.m. right next to the red X's through the holiday on Higgins. And unlike the 30 Rockefeller Plaza, Missoula will be lighting up their own town down tree that has been planted and grown there for many, many, many years. This will happen alongside the downtown holiday on Higgins, which used to be called the Parade of Lights, but went from a Christmas village to a Christmas village type of thing with plenty of booths celebrating the kickoff event for the Missoula holiday season. I also wanted to mention that the carriage rides are going to be happening the weekend long, Saturdays and Sundays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. You'll see them on Pine Street, close to the Missoula Art Museum. Last rides are on the 22nd of December. It's going to be on every single weekend. And 'tis the season for crafts fair and more, and the Missoula Maid Fair kicks off, one of the largest local vendor collections in western Montana, running out of the Dahlberg Basketball Arena at the University of Montana. Sunday, December 15th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. with early entry for $15 for the first 2 hours. So starting at 11 a.m. on December 15th, the Missoula Maid is the place to be. So many things are happening, and so let's go into the list of starting kicking things off with a ceramics sale at the University of Montana starting this morning at 9 a.m. The University of Montana Ceramics Department excited to announce the return of their holiday sale. This is taking place today, and it's going to be in the Art Annex from 4 to 8 p.m. Thursday, and then, of course, today until 5 p.m. Proceeds go directly to artists and portions of the funds to the University Ceramic and Sculpture Club. Each item is crafted with care and represents the hard work and creativity of the amazing, talented students. Missoula Butterfly House is open at 10 a.m. as always. Family fun time at Mismo Gymnastics at 10 a.m. It's getting cold out there, folks. As you can see, this fresh picture I just made this morning for you guys to enjoy. This is just outside the Missoula Public Library. The trees are frosted. Geez, my whole body is just not letting me talk today. But family fun time, Mismo Indoor Fun. Missoula Food Bank has their meal distribution from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. A great way for people who are trying to save a buck, some money in this winter season, maybe buy some presents, but have some cheaper food starting at 10 a.m. today. Tiny Tales is at Missoula Public Library every Friday at 10:30 a.m. Preschool playtime is some indoor recreational fun at Roots Acre Sports Center at 10:45 a.m. Lunch at the Missoula Senior Center at 11:30 a.m. And if you are homeless and also know somebody who is homeless, you can always direct them to the POV because they do have lunch services around the same time at the Paul Varela Center. Yarns and Watercolor at 12 noon at Missoula Public Library on the 4th floor. Snowflake Challenge for Washington Children's Shelter of Draftworks. This is going to be basically every single weekend fundraiser. The Snowflake Challenge is $2 per entry. All proceeds benefit the Washington Children's Shelter. All Abilities Art Club is going to be at base. It's an ongoing event every Friday at 1 p.m. Lego Club every Friday at 2:30 p.m. out the second floor of the Missoula Public Library, along with the Youth Young Adults Writers Group starting at 3:30 p.m. Happy Hour at the Carousel. This is for a buy one, get one free ride at Carousel for Missoula from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. European Christmas Maid Market at the Little Red Truck Market is going to be at Missoula County Fairgrounds. They do this every year. Some old vintage toys, maybe some new stuff, some original stuff. Always some great stuff happening there as well. 4 p.m. On tonight at 4 p.m. MTU, Renters Rodeo and Rent Relief Raffle, and so this is part of the American Legion Post 27. This is This is Renters Rodeo and Rent Relief Raffle is Friday, December 6th from 5 p.m. to midnight at the American Legion off of Ronan Street. If you're around that area, you should check out the Artist Shop as well, because it is also one of their next door neighbors. Join us for a night of live music by the Barn Cat Country Band, food, drinks, t-shirts, printing, crafting, raffle prizes, MTU presentations, and more. They're more excited to announce their Rent Raffle Relief. All new recurring due payments. MTU members who sign between November 6th and December 6th will be entered to win $1,000 that go towards their next rent payment. 3 lucky winners will be chosen at the end of the night for the Renters Rodeo. So Missoula Map products, featuring Missoula Map products description. To celebrate Missoula with the first Friday, we're unveiling a few of our Missoula Map products at Explore Maps at 5 p.m. Yellowstone Gallery, they're doing Yellowstone Gallery is a new boutique gallery in Missoula. December 6th will be their first Friday. The Disappearing Rings of Saturn, University of Montana, is doing not an exhibit, but a, what's that called? They're doing, let's see, what am I looking at? You're essentially going to look at the Disappearing Rings of Saturn. Telescope, 6 p.m. at 7 p.m. The University of Montana's Payne Native American Center. Join for the exclusive Saturn's ever-changing aesthetic, along with some projections and discussion of long-term future of the rings themselves. And yep, the presenter is going to be Mark Reiser, 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. on December 6th tonight. Cheese tasting, if you're interested, Lifelong Learning Center is doing a cheese tasting where you can learn how and where many of the favorite cheeses are made in different categories and types. You'll practice identifying flavor profiles by tasting delicious cheese. By the end of the class, they'll explore accompaniments by indulging in any kind of special prepared cheese together. There's a class fee. Life Learning Center is a great opportunity for a lot of people to get their GED and many of the other programs to get some work in the trades. Western Montana Beard and Mustache Competition, Cranky Public House tonight at 6 p.m. Just show up with a beard, sign up online, all that stuff. They have all sorts of resources at MissoulaEvents.net. D&D Guide for Adults, online at Missoula Public Library every Friday at 6 p.m. At Leon's at the Wilma Theater, they're doing some electronic music. It's AT Aliens. Rhino Ross Night, Art Night for a Cause. Rhino Bar is doing a Rhino Art Night. $10 entry includes drink tickets and coloring supplies. $4 for every entry will be donated to local nonprofits. Christmas Story, the musical, is kicking off at the MCT until December 22nd. If you're not associated with the Christmas Story, it's essentially a story about a boy named Ralphie in the Midwest trying to get his hands on his very first gun. And essentially, this is the musical form of the MCT. And he learns lessons along the way with friends, family, and a little bit of imagination and some theater magic. So they're going to be going on every night at 7:30 p.m. Thursday through Sunday, with matinees at 2:30 p.m. and earlier evening show on Sundays at 6:30 p.m. as the MCT does. Dance Underground Theater and Dance Finals are performed in the basement of the Partivia building tonight at 7:30 p.m. Get a chance to look that out. They also have something going on the next night as well. A lot of these things also have an extra night as well, as we also have Holiday Pops, the Missoula Symphony Orchestra and Chorale. It's going to be Get the Holiday Spirit with the annual Holiday Pops concert, a joyous event that brings together Missoula Symphony Orchestra and Chorale for a festive music event. This family-friendly concert features a delightful mix of holiday classics, beloved carols, and the seasonal favorite that will warm your heart and fill you with holiday cheer. Beer bait dances, fruitcake weather at Westside Theater. They're doing the new Sensational Extravaganza winter-themed choreography showcase with the company and guest choreographer sharing the Westside Theater stage. A perfect performance to kick off the holiday season. The Tomcats are going to be at Union Club tonight at 9 p.m. Charlie Apple at the Top Hat at 10:15 p.m. to wrap up your Friday night. So there's so much going on Friday. We're going to talk a little bit about some Saturday stuff with Coco with the Santa Claus at the Missoula Children's Theater at 9 a.m. at the MCT Missoula Children's Theater lobby. They have the 5K Ugly Sweater Run through the Tamarack Brewing Company. Winter celebration, makerspace walk-in hours at 10 a.m. at Missoula Public Library on the first floor. Story time on the second floor. It's every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Kids get exposure to reading and books every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Missoula MCAT is also hosting a wreath making in the studio from 11 to 3 p.m. along with the Santa at the Missoula Public Library at 11 a.m. Here at the library, there's a lot of holiday stuff happening as well. And then holiday shop at Jim and Marv's RV Park. They're also doing a store-wide sale, discounts for each event, in-store purchase, surprise purchase, free cookies and cocoa while there. Enchanted Christmas Village at 9 Mile Schoolhouse starting at 11 a.m. on Saturday. Snowflake Challenge for Washington Children's Shelter. DraftWorks another day of that. MCAT Saturday drop-ins is still going on. We're also having wreath making and Saturday drop-ins at 1 p.m. As we still are doing our Saturday drop-ins while we're not doing our kids' dance party. So, Introduction to Sewing Workshop, Home Resource Community Room at 1 p.m. Make a Mini Wreath at Western Cider at 1 p.m. Hands-on Science Fire at Spectrum Discovery Center Saturday at 2 p.m. Light up the tree at the Holiday Village from 5 to 8 p.m. with the lighting of the tree at 6 p.m. David Cross is going to be here in Missoula doing some comedy at the Wilma Theater at 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. for 2 shows. Benefit show at Free Cycles is featuring Motorhome and No Fancy. Going to do a rock music fundraiser. Brendan Nolan at Imagination plays blues music. Missoula Folklore Society Contra Dance is going to be at the Elks Ballroom. Karaoke at Westside Lanes, Ida Ranch Hands at Union Club, and Chris Moon to wrap up your Saturday night at the Badlander. So, there's not much to say about Sundays, but they also have some ceramics. So Throw Ceramics is doing a class for intro. This is a 2-hour class if you're interested in learning about ceramics. Make a wool felted bag. Learning with a Meaning is going to be doing their downtown offices. Are you ready for the next level of wool felting? Join this class to learn how to make wool felted bags. They'll use both wet felting and needle felting techniques in this class. It is helpful if you have some of the felting experience prior to this class. Missoula Friends Makers Quakers. So this is for people, this is for religious assembly. This is 1861 South 12th Street. The Quakers are meeting at 11 a.m. the Missoula Friends Meeting House. Garden City Salsa, 1 p.m. Rocky Mountain Ballet Theater at 1 p.m. on Sunday. Wreaths, Apps, and Wine Pairing at Florabella at 1 p.m. on Sunday. Five Valley Accordion Club at Missoula Senior Center at 1 p.m. It seems like it goes on every other Sunday. Holiday Gnome Clay Workshop at Missoula Public Library at 2 p.m. on Sunday. Very funny weekly comedy at VFW at 8 p.m. And then some karaoke at the Sunrise Saloon to wrap up your, essentially your Friday, your Sunday of events. Yeah, there's not much I have to say. I'm always afraid I'm not going to have enough time to talk about a lot of these things here and there, but I definitely I'm pretty much done. And I have some news items, but I just don't want to get carried away with some of the news that are happening in and around. There's a lot of things happening here and there. Let's see if there's anything I really want to kind of look into. Let's see. Nothing too much. Yeah. Nothing to really want to mention too much on what's going on as well, but if you are interested in learning more, you can go to MissoulaEvents.net. MissoulaEvents.net is a great resource for anybody looking to find out what's going on in the city of Missoula. Yeah, so all through the page. It's a great source for just kind of knowing what's going on here. There's people who add things last minute, new things get removed, all sorts of things, but this is your update on all sorts of things. You can sign up for the newsletter and more. All right. So without further ado, I want to thank you guys for joining me. And for Wake Up Missoula, I'm Scott Ramp. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend.